Sushi. What is going on? Welcome back to What You Can Cook For. This is a series where I basically take foods that people spend a lot of money on and different things people waste money on and show you what you can cook for that exact price. In the past, I've done things like the price of Domino's and McDonald's, but this time I'm switching it up to something I actually really still enjoy, sushi. Sushi is amazing, but sushi is very, very, very expensive, especially to get fresh fish and to feel full. I remember the first time I got sushi, it was with my first girlfriend in high school, and we used to go out to these dates, and she wanted to eat nice sushi, but I couldn't afford it, so I'd get one little roll and I'd sneak and get a slice of pizza. So I do love sushi, and I've grown to like really appreciate it, and the raw sushi and the cooked sushi. However, it is very expensive. So what I did was I went online and I calculated the price that it would cost to get sushi. I actually delivered sushi to my house. This is like for one person. It was a lunch special, which is even cheaper. I ended up spending $28.31. That's including a 20% tip, and there was a little delivery fee. But all I got was the lunch special, which came with 2 rolls. So I had like just kind of some tuna mixed whatever roll, and then a California roll, which is kind of a classic. Not my favorite, but you know, classic people get. And then I got a side of edamame, which was $5 itself, and it came with like a little side salad and the sushi. So this, we're talking enough food for one person for one meal, like for a pretty nice sized lunch. So what I did was I took my $28.31, went to the market and got a ton of food with the goal of teaching you guys how to make a lot of amazing epic stuff for the price of sushi. Now, one of the inspirations for this video is that while I love sushi, there are certain things in Japanese cuisine that are very well known, like sushi and ramen, but there's a lot of stuff that people don't know necessarily as well. So I thought I'd use this as a chance to cook a ton of Japanese food, maybe things that you've never tried before, or maybe it's something that you've seen before but you didn't think you could make, you know, like shumai you're too intimidated for. So I'm gonna kind of debunk that as well as expose you to some really new, amazing, delicious Japanese foods. So I'm going to show you all the stuff that I made, but just a quick note, some people make comments about, you know, the price and, well, you know, that's not what it costs in my area, and like, you know, you only use this much of this and you spent more on all these things. I get that, there's a lot of stories and all these different ideas going around, but the truth is, like, I just want to show you guys how to make amazing food that you can afford and to kind of debunk the idea that cooking is not, you know, cooking is super expensive. So when I go to the market, you know, I might buy something like Bonito Flakes, and I'm calculating how much I'm using, not how much I'm buying total, because a lot of this stuff is pantry items. You know, things like rice vinegar, I use a tiny bit of rice vinegar, but then you have this whole thing for yourself to use for other dishes. So when you really break it down, you save a ton of money. So let's get into what I got. First thing I snagged was some soy sauce, and I'm using about a half. I ended up using a little bit more, but a lot of the ingredients that I, you know, calculated in the price, I didn't even end up using, so it all kind of balanced out. Then I got some wasabi, just used like a little splash of that. I'm saying about 20 cents. I got some udon noodles, and there was a 2.5 pounds in here almost, but I only used a 1/4 pound, just one little sleeve, 60 cents. I got some green onions, 2 bunches, I got for $1. So for the ginger, I'm calculating about 25 cents, although I didn't even use that much ginger. Then kombu, which is actually something that's used in dashi. I'll explain more about that later. Then I got some buckwheat noodles, and I used the entire package, so $1.59. Then for sugar, about 16 cents, 4 ounces worth of sugar. Sesame seeds, I spent about 50 cents on sesame seeds. Rice vinegar, I ended up using not even that much, but I calculated about 50 cents worth of rice vinegar, about 3 ounces. I calculated 1 head of garlic, 12 cents. I did not even use nearly that much. Ground pork, I used 1 pound of ground pork, which cost me $2.49. Chicken, I used half a pound of chicken. That cost me $1.50. For eggs, I used 2 eggs. That was about 42 cents. Oil, I kind of just threw in about $1. I didn't use all that much oil, but I buy oil in bulk, so I spent about $1 worth of oil on there. Carrots, I used half a pound of carrots. That was 35 cents. Edamame, I used about a pound of edamame, and that was about $2 that I spent on there. Shumai wrappers, I got a package, and the package cost me $1.69, but I only used 12 out of like the 50 in there, so that was about 42 cents, and then you can freeze them and save them for later. They go a long way. Snow peas, I used about $1 snow peas, which is about 4 ounces. Potatoes, I used about half of a pound, and that was about 35 cents. Mushrooms, I used half of like one little pack of mushrooms, and that was about $1.25. Sushi rice, I used half a pound of sushi rice, and that cost me about 66 cents. For nori, I got a 10 pack and I only used 2 sheets, so that cost me about 50 cents. For tofu, I used a whole package. The tofu package cost me $1.89, and that was about a pound worth of tofu. And for golden curry, I ended up using about 2 ounces, and that cost me $1. Bonito Flakes, I calculated 2 packs. I ended up using 1 pack, but it was $1.36. Technically, I only used half of that. So for miso, I used just like a few tablespoons of miso, a couple ounces, 38 cents, that's about how much I used. Sweet potato, I didn't even end up really using this dish, but I had about a pound of sweet potato, which is $1.49, and that was kind of a bonus thing I threw on at the end. Sesame oil, I used about 50 cents worth of sesame oil. Onions, I had 1 onion, and that was 44 cents. Red bell pepper, I had 49 cents. Again, another thing I did not use. And Napa cabbage, I used about a pound of Napa cabbage for $1.19. So let's get into some of these amazing dishes I'm very excited to share with you guys. So the first thing I wanted to make was a Japanese curry. And there's so many curries from around the world, but not a lot of people know about Japanese curry. And all Japanese curries use one thing in common. So what you want to look for is this. This is golden curry. It's a sauce mix, and it's very popular. You can get a lot of use out of this. It's super delicious, used in a lot of curries. So here are the ingredients that I'm using for this curry. You get your potatoes, your carrots, some chicken, some onions, and this curry cube. So the first thing you want to do is sear your chicken up. Sear it in a little bit of oil and then take it out. I just want to get a little brownage and kind of get some bits on the ground to caramelize. Then throw in some onions and kind of caramelize them, saute them up. Add in some carrots and potatoes and just kind of cook that for a little bit just to get a little bit of color. And then add water, just enough to kind of cover it, maybe a little bit more. And you want to just simmer that with the chicken being added back in for about 30 minutes or so. And once things start to get soft and potatoes are nice and tender, you'll know. So once everything's kind of simmered for 30 minutes and gotten really tender, throw in your curry cubes. And then at that point, they're gonna start to kind of break down and the sauce is gonna get thick and it's gonna start turning a darker, rich brown color. And then kind of mix that around, have fun, do a little dance in the kitchen, and then cook that simmering for another like 15 minutes or so. Then taste it and you're done. That has all the flavoring you can need. You don't even need to add salt, it's pretty amazing. At that point, you got your curry, give it a taste, give yourself a thumbs up, do a little curry dance, and have some fun. I'm on a conference phone call. This curry is so unique. Proper stew. Like robust. Just a quick note, be sure to follow me on Instagram or also sign up for my mailing list, because if you do, you get a free cookbook that I made, all my favorite recipes from the past couple years of Brothers Green. Pretty dope, and it's free, so sign up and you get to get updates and all kinds of gloriousness going on in the world of my life. So the next thing I wanted to make is dashi, and if you don't know what dashi is, it's basically the Japanese umami. So where in Thailand they have things like fish sauce and shrimp paste to add umami, dashi is the staple to so many Japanese dishes. They use it in batters, they use it at the base of ramen and different soups and all sauces and all kinds of stuff. It's very easy to make and you can make a lot of it and kind of just have it and add it in as you go. So there's 2 ingredients in dashi, Kombu and Bonito Flakes. Bonito Flakes basically dried fish that's been shaved really thin and like smoked, so it's really smoky and umami. And the Kombu is a seaweed. So what you do is you add about 4 cups of water or so to this kombu, and you take a couple squares of kombu, put it in water, bring it up to a boil. Once it comes up to a boil, you can let it simmer for a few minutes and then take out the kombu because you don't want it to cook too long. And at that point, just add in the Bonito Flakes. I use 1 package. You could use 2 depending on how strong you want it. And then just turn the heat off once it comes to a boil and just let that sit for like 15 minutes. After it's sat for a little bit and the flavors are like having fun and dancing and making sweet love to each other, then all you want to do is just strain it out, and then you have this like liquid magic that's going to go to the base of some of our dishes and sauces. So one of the other things I wanted to do, because it can be in a lot of dishes, is make rice. And you can use whatever kind of rice you like. I use like sort of a medium grain sushi rice. And basically I washed it in water. Kind of want to just like clean it up, get some of the starches out, usually until the water starts to run more clear. And then I just cook that sort of standard, you know, some water. You don't have to add any ingredients at all. Just cook that, take it out, put it in a bowl, and then let that sit and kind of start to cool down a bit. So I'm gonna be using this rice for the thing called onigiri. And onigiri is really interesting, and forgive me please if I said it wrong, but it's basically like you're taking a mixed rice. You know, you can add vegetables or meat or something, you're mixing it together and you're wrapping in some seaweed, and you have this little like bite to go. You've probably seen them, sometimes at Asian grocery stores, you might see them kind of wrapped up and they look really delicious, you don't know what it is, well it's a little fun surprise. So the first thing I did was I took all these ingredients, I diced up my carrots, and I cooked them in just a little bit of oil. I added a little sesame oil in there, slipped it in, why not? Added some pork, cooked that down, threw in some scallions in there, kind of cooking it around, enjoying the aromas, smelling, just being excited as you go, just having that passion and excitement to cook. Because when you're present, when you're in a dish and you're present and you're being like grounded into that space, like you have such a strong connection to the food that you're eating, and it's going to be more exciting to eat. You're going to feel more appreciative of it and have a great time. Cooking shouldn't be a chore, and if it is, like, I get it, some people don't have a lot of time, but find a way to enjoy it. Because there's things in life when you have to do something, you know, it's like there's a lot of things we have to do that maybe we don't want to do, but we have to do them, so why not find a way to enjoy it, or at the very least not get frustrated. So back to onigiri. So basically you're going to be cooking this down and kind of like, you know, you add your pork, you add some scallions, add some sesame seeds, and just cook that for a bit. Once the pork is cooked, then slip in a little soy sauce. You don't really want to add that before because it can start to burn, so soy sauce, and then just kind of taste it, make sure it tastes delicious, and then just let it cool. Once it's cool and it's cool to the touch, you can basically mix it with the rice, and then kind of form these sort of triangular bulbous thingies. I don't know what you want to call it. One thing I feel like I did was maybe I should have had more rice to filling ratio. I think it was a little harder to stick. The rice you have might be a little stickier as well, but I think it was a little bit harder to stick because of the amount that I had in the liquid. So I just play around with that a bit, but I pushed it hard and it stuck really well. Then you take some seaweed and you kind of cut like seaweed strips and then just wrap it around. And then you end up with these like little, I don't even know, I mean onigiri, but like these little shaped creatures. It's just a really fun way to eat rice. Like, I know a lot of times we think of rice and sushi rice and seaweed with fish, but there's so many different dishes in Japanese cuisine that use rice and seaweed that have nothing to do with sushi. Next, we're gonna make something that really blew me away because it's so simple, but that's the thing about Japanese cuisine. There's such an art and there's such like a delicate balance of experience that you're tasting, and everything that goes into it is really well thought out. It's not like one of those cuisines that necessarily has like a gazillion different ingredients going into it. A lot of it is super simple, but things are really well prepared. And this is what I love about this dish. So Soba Noodles, it's basically a buckwheat noodle. They usually have flour as well, but you can get them all buckwheat if you're gluten-free. So I basically just cooked the Soba Noodles. And I ended up using 2/3 of the package and I saved the rest. You could make like a soba, there's a stir-fry soba dish, I forget the name, but you cook the noodles and you stir-fry it and kind of make this almost like stir-fried noodle dish that's really delicious apparently. So I cooked the soba and then I strained it some water, some cold water, because you actually want to get it cold. You could serve it warm, but I like it cold. A lot of times you'll see like Japanese like cold noodle dishes, which are really cool. And then I added some sesame oil, just kind of mixed that around, and that just kind of kept it so it didn't stick too much. It gave it a little lubrication on those noodskis. And then all I'm doing is making a sauce. And unlike a lot of noodle dishes where you put the sauce on mixed together, this is more of a dipper. So you have your noodles on one side, you kind of pick them up, you dip them into the sauce, you eat them, you have a delicious time in your mouth. So what I did was I took some soy sauce. This is all by eyeball, by feel. Soy sauce, a little bit of my dashi, add some extra umami to that soy, some wasabi powder, which probably is a better way to like, you know, you could probably mix it in a little bit of water first, then mix it in, but it still worked. Some scallions, I grated in some ginger, rice vinegar, and sesame seeds, and I mixed that together and I tasted it. And if you wanted to add chilies and make it spicy, you could. If you want to add something else to kind of balance it in another way, you absolutely can. You can add sugar or whatever, but I thought this is perfect. Then you have your noodles, you kind of top them with some sesame seeds, scallions if you want. You dip them in there and you have this like beautiful, really simple but satisfying dish. Oh man, Japanese food is so interesting. It's like sort of like these buckwheat noodles. Imagine like light, like nutrient dense spaghetti. Miso soup is one of my favorite things, and a lot of people are used to miso soup when they get sushi because it usually comes with either a house salad or miso or both. And it's always this fun little thing, like I'm getting sushi, but I get like these two little extra things. But usually the miso is really small and it's usually pretty good. Miso is kind of standard, but I wanted to like kind of take miso to a whole other dimension of magical, glorious heavenness. So I'm making kind of a miso udon. Udon noodles are, if you don't know, they're a Japanese wheat noodle, and they're really thick, so they're kind of chewy and delicious. And a lot of people know ramen, but there's a lot of udon soups, so I thought I'd mix the udon soup experience with the miso and have something amazing. So here's the ingredients that I'm using. Got my tofu, my mushrooms, some miso paste, my dashi broth, some scallions, very simple, my noodles. In a pan with water, you use like 4 cups or so. Add in some dashi, I ended up using about half of the tofu. I didn't even use the rest of the tofu, so I can kind of knock it off the price. Added in about half of my mushrooms. Again, I didn't even use all the mushrooms. The miso paste, and I added in just a little bit of kombu, just kind of to kick it up for fun, whatever. Kind of brought that to a boil, doing the boil thing, do the boil dance, feel the boil flow. You gotta work it until you work it. You gotta work it till you work it. Okay, so put that in, bring it up to a boil, and then simmer it. At that point, you can start to taste it. And I ended up adding a little bit more miso because, you know, I had some to spare in the budget. So I added about the same amount of miso that I already added in, a couple more tablespoons of miso. And once it came to a boil, I took the kombu out and I just kind of let it simmer for a while. Put it on the back burner and it just chilled for a long time. Cook my udon noodles just standard way, like you cook some noodles, cook them in some water for love the noodles. Put them in the bowl and pour that soup over, hit it with some scallions, and it was like, miso soup is so soothing. It's amazing. It's just one of those soups where like you're getting a lot of delicious flavor, like the miso is fermented and it's umami, so you're getting a lot of flavor there from the dashi. The tofu is like nice and warm but soft and like a little chewy, and the mushrooms are like just meaty and magic, and you just sit there eating it and you just feel good. It's one of those things that puts you in a good place. It's like a zen place of magic where you're just... And this is what soup should do. It should take you to that place. A good soup should really like put you in this balance of life where you just remember that you are one with the entire universe and there's no separation between all of us. We're all one. We're all connected to this magic that we're living in. So don't forget it. You are not alone. We're all in this together. So edamame, I just thought it'd be fun to cook some. I'm not really gonna go into details, but basically you buy edamame frozen. You could get it fresh too, but buy it frozen, steam it in just a steamer bath, and then just toss it with salt. And I ended up using one of the dipping sauces to eat it with. A lot of times at restaurants you just have the salt, which is nice, but I've seen them do like fried garlic and soy edamame or ginger miso, so you can kind of have fun with it, do whatever you want. If you haven't had edamame before, these basically soybeans, dip it in a little sauce or just do it straight up. And you don't want to eat the outer skin, but you kind of bite into it and release the little edamame beans in there while you're sucking the seasoning off the outside, so the salt. Boom. All right, on to shumai, one of my favorite things. So the first thing you want to do is make your mixture. And usually a pork mixture. I've got some garlic, scallions, and ginger kind of as the base. So I have my pork mixture, and you could also do shrimp. You could blend up some shrimp too, have a shrimp paste, mix that together. That would be really delicious. There's a lot of shumai has both. Added some soy sauce, some sugar. I also had carrots, so the carrots made their way in there as well. Then I just kind of mixed that all together, and if you wanted to, you could fry off a bit just to taste the flavor, but I kind of trust, you know, add a good amount of soy, have some fun, trust in life, trust in the cooking. For sauce, I just made like something really simple with some vinegar, soy sauce, sugar, sesame oil, and I also had this chili paste that I've been fermenting, all chilies from my garden. So I just threw a tiny bit of that in, just add a little kick. You could do whatever you want for chili or just avoid it completely. So then you get your shumai wrappers, and if you have the circle, that's great, but if you have the square, but I'd say it's just kind of cut off the edges a little bit, and it kind of makes it almost circular. And then you take your mixture, and this is one of the easiest sort of dumplings to roll, shumai. Basically just put in a nice chunk of it, press it down, and kind of fold the edges over and leave the top open. There's no folding necessary, you don't need water or anything like that. And then you just put them in your steamer basket. I used a bamboo steamer basket with some cabbage leaves that I put down, because I actually did parchment paper, and I remembered that that's even better, having the cabbage leaves, because it imparts flavor. It just looks cooler. I steamed them for 10 minutes or so. I will say and admit that I steamed them a little too long. The pork got a little bit dry and the wrappers kind of fell apart a bit, but I was doing so many things in the kitchen today that I kind of messed that up. But when you do it, you're not gonna mess up. Trust yourself, you can always take one out and try it. But they were still delicious. Few things are more exciting than dumplings. I thought they were overcooked at first, but you just gotta let them sit. You don't want to serve them like super piping hot. I mean, they might be maybe a little overcooked, but dumplings are always good. I also whipped up a quick cabbage salad. I just made like a little dressing, kind of some like soy sauce, rice vinegar. You could add bonito, I kind of forgot that. Some sugar, some sesame seeds, kind of mix that together. And then just toss in your cabbage. And that's just like a nice little fresh thing to go on the side, because there's a lot of variety in here, but a lot of stuff is cooked. So I want to have something fresh and crunchy. Last thing is called Omurice, I believe. I hope I didn't pronounce that wrong. Even if I did, still just as delicious. So this one was really interesting, simple, but had a couple like kind of cool techniques that I thought were really fun. So first off, take some chicken, dice it up, saute that, and then add some onions as well, kind of cook that together, throw in some scallions. I had some snow peas left over, so I threw them in, cook that all together, and then add in your rice, whatever rice you had left over. I kind of added that in, make this like nice, sort of almost like stir-fried rice mixture, added some soy sauce, and then I let that cool. While that's cooling, I basically took this little egg mixture, and this thing's really interesting. I kind of did it right, kind of didn't, but basically you take 2 eggs, you scramble them. You can add whatever you want in. I had some carrots and some snow peas and a little soy. Mix that all together. And then I put it in a Ziploc bag. It's got to be a Ziploc bag that's like more heavy duty and that's safe to go in like a heated water solution. And I kind of tied the top off and I put it into some water and kind of poached it in there. And the idea is that you're poaching the outside, but the inside stays kind of runny, which is kind of weird because you would never expect that in most cuisines. But that's what I saw, and it's like this really cool, popular thing. And this is kind of a hacked way to do it. I actually don't really know how to do the actual way to do it, but I thought it'd be fun to try. So while that was poaching off, I just put my rice into a bowl and kind of like created like a nice volcano mountain mold thing, and then popped that right onto a plate. And then once the egg was done poaching, you'll kind of see like the outside starts to form and feel solid, and you squeeze it, it feels like the inside's a little runny, and then I kind of made like a little divot. I pop that on there, and then you break into it. And typically, like if you do it right, it's supposed to ooze open. I got a little bit of ooze, but I think I cooked it a little bit too much. But for my first time, I felt really good about that. Fun, interesting fact, I actually learned that typically this dish, instead of soy sauce and the rice, they use ketchup, which is kind of odd. You wouldn't expect that, but I thought that was kind of fascinating. Wow, look at this freaking feast. One of the things that amazes me the most about everything I cooked today is a lot of this stuff I've never made before. I just watched videos, did research online, and figured out how to make it all amazingly. So of course there might be people out there saying you did that wrong, you didn't do that right. I'm okay with that. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. But the point is that just by watching videos like this one, especially if you're a visual learner, you can make all of this amazing food. Sushi, delicious, and it came with its own edamame, which that much edamame that I ordered just for edamame and salt cost me $5. You can make this for like literally $1. This I've never had before. It was super cool. Usually it's a little bit more runny, but still really delicious. The miso, I mean, come on, miso. Dumplings, you can't go wrong. You can't dump until you dump. And there you have it. That is what you can cook for the price of sushi. Like I said, I'm not trying to knock on sushi. I love and appreciate sushi, but it is expensive, and to get good quality fish, you're gonna usually be breaking a bank. So I would say treat sushi is kind of like, a nice treat. It's like something you go out to on a special occasion, you save up some money. Maybe there's all-you-can-eat buffet sushis and you like that, that's your thing, that's great. But there's so many other Japanese cuisines that are amazing as well, and that will cost you a lot less. So I suggest that you explore them if you're feeling like sushi envy, but you want to cook something else. Give it a try. Thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe, like, more Brothers Green to come. Let me know what you can cook for episodes you would like to see. Again, you can subscribe to my personal Instagram. You enjoy life, and peace out. I'll see you all in the near future of magical life.